It's this time again. I did not end up making the thing for the hair spread. It's not difficult. It doesn't take too much time. I just couldn't have been bothered. Because I made the one for the lion spread and it wasn't that long. And I was going to maybe potentially put like more details. I might just like make a PDF from the thing in the OneNote and just upload that. I guess in the meantime, it would be better than nothing. So, anyway, it's time to build another spread with the archetypes and the archetypes. However, today, instead of choosing like two archetypes for everything, I am just gonna take the cards that come out. So it might be at the most, or at the least, it'll be 3, one archetype from each, but I guess if 15 cards want to come out, then 15 cards can come out, and we'll see. I still have these separated by category of archetype. It is so warm. It's so warm. And the birds are loving it, and the bees are out, but it's hot. And I'm tired. I feel like today might be a musical day. Misery brings out the musician in me. What can I say? Not just misery. Pretty much any emotion, kind of. If I feel it strongly enough, start to sing and wiggle. See, for instance, if all of these came out, then we'd have a seed, and we'd have a riddle, and we'd have a thread, and then we'd have a vessel. We have AC, but I don't get it in my room. Like, it doesn't make it back here. So when I get my own place, yes. And will it be on? Yes. Like when I go to my dad's house, 60 something. AC is set on 60 something. It's always cold. It's so nice. I love it. Sometimes it's too cold, low key, to be honest, but I'd rather be too cold than too warm. And, my mom is frugal in her own words. So, but she was like, it's getting warm enough that the AC is coming on. So that will be turned on. Also, I could have just like opened my window last night and it would have been all right. I think I'll do that today. No. Yours is at 70. See, that's so nice. Much better than the 90 million degrees it is in my room. But I live in like an extremity. So in the summer, it's super hot. In the winter, it's super cold. In the winter, I don't mind it as much. Again, blankets. But yeah, it's going to have to come on. You see the beads of sweat? It's like, oh, you're glistening. Thanks. It's the sweat. How are you doing today, Eve? It's so lovely to see you. I feel like it's been so long, It's not like I literally just saw you, within the past few minutes. Woo! But let's get into this archetype. I was going to do this yesterday. I think I said that. Yeah, I was going to do it yesterday, but I didn't feel like reaching into the thing and pulling up the deck. Oh, you have wine now? Is it red wine or white wine? If anyone is in Michigan, if you can check out Cherry Republic, the cherry ice wine is so good. It is so good. And I would order it, but they only deliver to Michigan and Ohio on the website. I'm like, that's so dumb. But the cherry ice, like my friend and his fiance aren't really drinkers. It's so good that even they loved it. Like loved it. Didn't even like it. We all loved it. It was amazing. Red Cabernet. Ooh, Cabernet Sauvignon. That's the only Cabernet I know. I'm not a huge wine person though. I like non-grape wines. So like Arbor Mist, Blackberry, Merlot. I like, and there's another one that I liked. It was some kind of sangria, maybe, which might not be mine. I don't know. Like dry wines confuse me. Dry liquids just my brain doesn't know how to process. My brain does not know how to process something wet that makes things dry. Like, how is this wet liquid making my tongue dry? I don't get it. You like dry reds? Okay, I'm the opposite. And it's just like I get it's confusing. It's too confusing of a sensation for me. My brain doesn't know what to do with that sensory information of a dry liquid. Whew. Okay, you see that? Oh gosh. Oof. I do have a little thing. I should have grabbed that. That's literally what it's for, but I never use it. So you don't really need it and you never use it. So I gave it to the peach because he's got hair. Anima Animus is the archetype today. And there's two of them. When I literally say, oh, I'm not going to do two just to do two, Anima Animus comes out. But I'm going to honor what I originally said. And there may be one card. Bottom of the deck is. Ooh, are you new? The Trickster. Bottom of the deck is the Trickster. Under the Trickster is this guy. Who are you? The Innocent. The Innocent was at the bottom of the deck when the Heraith came out, I think. Right? I actually like. There's one that I have that I know exactly where it is because I keep moving it. I might end up wearing it. It has the Power Rangers on it, but it's missing the Pink Ranger. It's like, how are you missing the Pink Ranger? Because I was looking at him for a while. I was like, somebody's missing. Something is off. The Pink Ranger. Kimberly. Who forgets Kimberly? Okay. Anima Animus. That's what the soul or the spirit? Anima? Anima is feminine, animus is masculine, animum, I guess, would be neutral. So, let me get my little thing set up. Why didn't I do this before I started? I don't know. Who are you asking? Yes. No thanks. I hate when people ask me, or when apps ask me to review them. Because I'm like, no. I always click later, but I never do it. Later, later never comes. This is Anima. Oh, we're still on green. I don't hate it, but let's go back to black. Anima. Animus. And we'll get into the persona. And we'll see what's up. Animus. Anima. It might be the first archetype in the book. Who is the first archetype in the book? Probably Aim. No, M becomes before the Alchemist is the first archetype. The Angel is the second, and then Anima Animus is the third. The attribute. I did it again. The attribute comes first, and then it's the persona. Oh, stop it. Oh, attribute. BUTE. And we'll see what this gives us. Hopefully, something pullable. Excuse me. So, the anima and animus, or the male within female and the female within male, represent a union of opposites, a marriage of day and night, black and white. Once united, they gradually straighten our drunken lopsidedness. When our left and right spheres learn to speak to one another, logic and intuition come together and evolve a deeper perception, allowing us to think and feel with cohesion. So, think and feel with cohesion, marriage of opposites. SITS. Male within female. I'll make a little thingy. It's like male, female, day and night. Male, female, day, night. Is there anything else? Once united, they gradually straighten our drunken lopsidedness. I'll do that too. Straightening drunken lopsidedness. Oh, I should have put logic and intuition. I'll do it up here. Logic, intuition. We'll do the persona. Persona. This is kind of. So, she and he are bound together in a chemical wedding. Chemical with the Y, is that a thing? Hey, Holly, how you doing? Oh, what an odd day. Really? Tell me about it. What's going on? It's been a good day over here. Not whatever, but it's been an interesting day, I guess. She and he are bound together in a chemical wedding, equal partners within a single form, encompassing not just their converse faces, but all the shades and variations that exist between their polarities. Together, they are far more than the sum of their parts, or the mere symbol of yin and yang. They are the embodiment of cohesion and harmony. I saw the word harmony today somewhere. I don't remember where, and it feels like it was the subtext. Like I feel like there was writing, and then in smaller words it said harmony. Oh, there you are. Hey, codes of harmony. Speak of the harmony, and it shall appear. Right? The golden sun and silver moon pursue higher callings, language as poetry, math as pattern, the elegant dance of body and soul, the high art of listening, eye contact, the ways of touching, timing, the reading of emotion, and kindness for its own sake. The anima and animus are lovers with a bond beyond mere carnality. Through the prism of their fused halves, light is redirected to create a new spectrum of color that will reveal the trap door between our conscious and subconscious, unconscious minds. So I like that part. I'll say revealing a trap door. It's almost like between conscious and subconscious. It's almost like if there are underground tunnels, like the subconscious or unconscious and conscious minds are these two separate buildings, but they share like a basement, or there's like a space beneath the basement, and there's a trap door that like connects them. I feel like more often than not, I see that in sky bridges, but like there were a few buildings on campus where like you could take the tunnels and you could get from like the Union to one of the dorms to another building, like across the street and whatever. Reveals a trapdoor between conscious and unconscious, conscious and unconscious. This is. Did I build this spread? Yes, I did. I know what spread this is. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to build a new one, but it's like that. Oh, I thought you said Starman for a second. I thought you said Starman for a second. Right? But dry red wine is yum. Okay. I don't know. Hey, Sandra, how you doing? Oh, yeah, you did. Wait, I know you mentioned a move a while ago, and I know you said that there was a lot going on the other day. No. Oh, wow. Well, sounds like lots of new beginnings, new chapters, new energies that are coming in. All the best with everything. I need like a fan. You know what I mean? So, reveals a trapdoor between conscious and unconscious. I like the part about these prisms. Through the prism of their fused halves, light is redirected to create a new spectrum. A new spectrum. This is almost low key giving North Node, South Node, like the North Node and South Node come together and then project out like a new path. It's almost like in a movie where like there is this thing that lights up and this thing that lights up, and then they create a thing that shoots out like a portal or whatever. Also, we're going to be coming upon a solar eclipse. So, that's also happening where the sun and the moon meet. A new spectrum revealed by the fusing of two prisms. Fusion of two prisms. What else? What else? The golden sun and silver moon pursue higher callings. Language as poetry, math as pattern, the elegant dance of body and soul, the high art of listening, eye contact, the ways of touching, timing, and reading, of emotion and kindness for its own sake. Um, I guess I'll do embodiment of cohesion and harmony. I don't know how I want to. Cohesion and harmony. Harmony. Greater than the sum of their parts. The handwriting on this is going to be real interesting because I'm not holding it like I usually do, and it's kind of weebly wobbly. Actually, I'm going to make this a dash. Um, pursue higher callings. Callings together. She and he are bound together in a chemical wedding, equal partners within a single form, encompassing not just their converse spaces, but all the shades and variations that exist in between their polarities. I want to do that chemical wedding. Are equal partners within a single form, because that, and maybe that's why it's spelled like this. It's CHYMICAL. I guess chimera is spelled with an I. Chemical wedding, equal partners within a single form. This is interesting, though. What's interesting about this is the trickster at the bottom of the deck. Hey, David, how you doing? Waving your ostrich feather? Thank you. I do feel a semblance of some kind of a breeze trying to come in. Ooh, ooh, ew, ew. Woo, 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 woo. Where the book? Where the book? Oh, I'm holding the book. What's the trickster? I'm just gonna read the trickster real quick because I'm curious. Oh, the thing I was gonna say, it's like because these are two, because they share one form. With the trickster, it's almost like you may think that you're talking to this one, but it might be that one because they occupy everything within that polarity in a single form. It feels like it can present itself either way. Like both are always present, of course, but it's just something about that. Trickster. The survive the trickster. The trickster is close by, whether you like it or not. He knows about your propensity for self delusion and refuses point blank to let you indulge self aggrandizement. If you are heading in the wrong direction, he will tie your shoelaces together, and if you become arrogant, he'll show you your absurdity. He is a thorn in your flesh, an utter nuisance, and he is essential to your well being. Sometimes in front, sometimes behind, in this case, behind. The trickster never lets you out of his sight. He's an ever present mischievous imp, the antidote to your ego, ready to prick you if you grow bloated, trip you if you stray, or mock you when you become too cocky. As infuriatingly puckish as he may be, he's your friend, and he has your best interests at heart, even if he appears to take delight in the trouble he causes you. He is a shapeshifter, a master of disguise, and he is willing to turn every situation upside down and inside out. The trickster insists that you find irony and humor in your actions, your opinions, and your preoccupations. He garrotes your illusions, is that how you pronounce that? With a fine wire of satire and mockery, and he cuts down your pretensions without mercy. To some, he's a kachina, a coyote, or a brer rabbit, while to others, he's Dionysus, Pan, or Reynard. But his name matters little as he nudges your elbow, prods your rump, and makes certain your hyperbole is exposed. What is that word? Garrote. I don't think I've ever. I don't think I've ever. Heard that word before. Came across that word before. My brain just kind of like shut down for a second. Like there wasn't even an attempt at collecting a thought. I remember I told because I think a lot. I think a lot. I overthink sometimes, but I also like there are times where I don't think at all. And I told somebody that once and they were super surprised. Like, what? You like, there are times where you don't think? I'm like, yeah, sometimes I'm just like existing. My brain just shuts down. Hey Siri, define Garrote.
As a verb, garrote means kill someone by strangulation, typically with an iron collar or a length of wire or cord.
Oh my
Do you want to hear the
gosh.
remaining one?
Yes.
As a noun, it means a wire, cord, or apparatus used to strangle someone.
Do you hear that? Do you hear that? Right? I was like, no wonder why I've never come across that word before. Even if the trickster has to strangle you. It did mention a wire of satire. Oh my gosh. He garrotes your illusions with a fine wire of satire. It's not even satire, it's satyr. He garrotes your illusions with a fine wire of satyr and mockery, and he cuts down your pretensions without mercy. Oh my goodness. Gonna bury that word, right? Literally. I have no clue, Steph, but I'm glad you're here. Welcome, Steph. Woo! Okay. That's a little extreme, though. I mean, I get because it's like if it's an illusion, then it's not even real. So, is it extreme? Is it extreme if it never existed in the first place? Really? The Pisces in me would say, yeah. Like that's still a little extreme, even if it didn't exist. Even if we were only speaking in hypotheticals, you didn't have to go that far. You know. Okay. So I don't even know which archetypes I just picked up because they're all face down. Again, however many come out is however many I'm going to take. The mask. But look at that. Like one side is dark, the other side's got colors. See, this, it feels like the trickster. Because there was something about the trickster and there's something about the ability for Anima Animus to occupy the same body where it's almost like you don't know which one you're really talking to. Or it's almost like how something can appear to be one way, but it serves a different purpose. It's like with as garish and extreme and seemingly cruel as the trickster can be, it always has good intentions. So it can be like tragedy or misfortune, almost like Uranus, I guess, in that way, where it's like tragedy or misfortune that leads to a sort of liberation. Like if there's a job that you absolutely do not like, but you can't bring yourself to leave, then something happens and then like you get fired or you get invited to not work there. And it's like it's a bad thing to lose the job, but then it's like, is it really? Because you didn't really want to be there anyway. Because you staying there was stopping you from doing this other thing type of energy. The ring is at the bottom of the deck. These are the objects. And these rings are like inseparable. They remind me of those inseparable rings that are like tied together that you can't separate, hence inseparable rings. And this is number 61. Ring is 57. But maybe with masks too, there's only like one side or one face being revealed. There's different tricksters in your opinion. Your personal trickster really does have your back. External trickster is another story. Yeah. Yeah. Also the kachina. What's a kachina? Let's see. Let's ask Siri. I mean, last time I asked Siri a question, it gave us something rather grim and disturbing. Hey Siri, define Katchina.
I found this on the web.
Kachna? I guess you can't just tell me, huh? One of the deified ancestral spirits believed among the Hopi or Pueblo Indians to visit the pueblos at intervals. One of the elaborately masked Kachina impersonators that dance at agricultural ceremonies, a doll representing a Kachina. So it's a deified ancestral spirit, which is interesting. The energy of deified ancestral spirits is very interesting because it's almost like it makes me think of, I think they're called bodhisattvas and I think they're in Buddhism, but it's basically like people that lived lives that were so spectacular or so heart based that the divine welcomes them as a member of the divine. This was the last one. It was the last one, the lion, because it was the energy of Ganymede and it was the energy of Psyche. It was Psyche and Cupid. How Psyche had to be deified to be with Cupid. She became a deity. But it's like the individual becomes deified, but they still have family. So it's like if they have kids before they become deified, or even like their siblings, even their parents, like the family of a deity. I don't know. Don't ask me. Don't ask me. Okay. We've moved on to the places because the aspects of self are huge. I can always tell which one that one is. The temple, number 39, the bottom of the deck. Okay. Only one card? The cave in reverse. See, there's that face in the cave. Do 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 do. The cave is where the other face reveals itself. Because it's like this is the side of the mask that we see, but when we go into the darkness, that's where we see the other side. I keep doing these and I don't know why. I keep doing these and I don't know why. Coyote also came out. Coyote has been coming out. Okay. Aspects of self. If like 2 or 3 of them came out, that would be so nice. The cave where a lion might live. Well, we'll see. Yes! Sorry, I'm excited. 2 of them came out. We got 2 cards. We got 2 cards. First, one of them fell out, and I was like, okay, keep shuffling. And then the second one, why do I feel so excited? I don't know. So, the creator upright. This is interesting. This is my 3rd one. In the first one, we saw the sustainer. No. Yeah. No. We've seen the sustainer, the destroyer, and now the creator. I can't remember if the sustainer like actually came out or if it was just at the bottom of the deck. I think the sustainer was at the bottom of the deck because it was the Heraith and it was the space that we were being called into, but we were separate from. I'm pretty sure the destroyer made an appearance last time. And now we have the creator, which is interesting because these are like masculine archetypes. And I say masculine archetypes primarily because of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva in Hinduism. Even though gender in Hinduism gets interesting, weird, confusing. But it's like masculine archetypes where like there's mother maiden crone, and feminine archetypes. But the father is in reverse. Oh look. Ooh. But with the father landed in reverse on top of the mask. So like there's this they line up as far as the tree goes, I guess, at least. And then the creator. 2 and 22. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Kingdom come, thy will be done. The lover is at the bottom of the deck. I think the lover was at the bottom last time too. Okay. Emperor energy has been like coming forward. So I'll do it this way because I don't want to do it like this. I'll do it left to right instead of top to bottom. Um, so this was the mask. And again, this is interesting because with that trickster, it felt like there's an emphasis on the side that we don't see. The cave. This is the father. And this is the creator. It's also interesting because last time the emperor came out, I mentioned how when the emperor comes out, and for a lot of readers that I've come across, it's like when the emperor comes out, we immediately talk about the shadow of the emperor, how it can be like controlling and manipulative and all of these other things. And when the empress comes out, we immediately talk about her and her light being fertile and creative and abundant. But it's like we don't extend that same courtesy to the emperor of talking about its light. I've almost always seen it where it's more immediately like, oh, this is a really controlling or a really manipulative energy. And then we have to dig into it to see if it really is or not. It's almost like it's assumed to be. Is it an incorrect assumption with how emperor energy manifests and has been manifesting? No. I wouldn't say it's an incorrect assumption, but it's interesting to know, right? But I think sometimes too, just because we experience something as a thing doesn't mean that it is that thing, if that makes any sense. So these come this way. It's also interesting that again, well, I mentioned that because the cave came out in reverse and the father came out in reverse. So it's like we have to go into cave or whatever. Like this side of the father is hidden because of what archetypal father energy, what we've experienced, how maybe how because of how humanity embodies archetypal masculine or father energy, it's tainted our perception of what that energy is. But it's like that's almost like it's separating like the practitioner worshiper from the deity. Like allowing your opinion of Christians to affect how you view God, or allowing your opinion of people who practice Islam to color your opinion of Allah or anything. You know what I mean? But there's like the people are human, are flawed, and whatever. So they can't necessarily serve as a proper representative of any energy that's divine. Like I'm sure a lot of practitioners do their best to behave in ways that would honor the God that they believe in, so that when people hear whatever, that they would have a positive association. But it's still like it's people. You know what I mean? People to people. Excuse me. I think it's also interesting. Oh, because we're talking about the mask and we're talking about the side of things that aren't seen, because the cave came out in reverse with the father in reverse, but the creator upright. There's something about creative energy that it's almost like we associate creation with birth and we typecast it to the feminine. We give feminine energy all of the responsibility of creation, but the 3D earth feminine can't create life on her own. She needs the input of the masculine to, like, the feminine is the vessel that receives and that life grows inside of. And that's not to downplay the role that she plays, and it's not to remove her from power, but she alone isn't singularly responsible for creation. And so there is some power of the masculine, or there's some importance in its impact and in its participation in the process that we lose when we give the feminine soul credit for it. It's almost like there's some gift or some ability or some, again, it's like some power within him that allows for that creative process to be a thing that we just completely miss out on in general. I don't know if it's necessarily going to come out. I guess we'll see. But I think because the lover is here, it can also, the lover, the ring, and the temple. This is like a marriage energy. The lover, the ring, and the temple. Like the temple is the space where lovers exchange rings. Um, thank you. I think that makes me think of the destroyer. Yeah, because here's the well, it might be the sustainer actually. We'll see. Yeah, it's the destroyer. So there's only two cards. I'm gonna mention these. There's only two cards between the destroyer and the sustainer, and it's the Anima Mundi. Speaking of Anima, and the one. But here, this in the destroyer is what it made me think of for some reason. But there's also like these similar things in the sustainer, but it's central to the destroyer, and it's this right here. So I guess since they're together, it makes me think of the destroyer. And maybe how we like generally think of masculine or the father archetype as destructive, or as, I guess, if one is creation, the other side of creation is destruction. And so if the feminine is solely creation, then the masculine, to balance that polarity, must singularly be destruction. Um, there's also, I think, on the nest. No, that other symbol is on one of these cards. It might be in the nest. I can't. It's escaping me which card exactly it is. One second. Un momento. I think this is the first time that one of the journey cards hasn't showed up. 71 through 78. Why am I over here? It might be in the crone, maybe. It might not be. It is in the crone. But it's different. Is there another one? Not really the king. Maybe. We'll see. I was thinking of the crone, though. I'm pretty sure the crone is the card I was thinking of when I saw that. Okay. So the other side of the father, makes me think of the crone. You see this? I don't know if I'll try to hold them up like this. But I'll also hold this one here like this. All of these are kind of similar to me. You can't. So this right here. Like there's this in the crone, but the symbol is different. And the crone, it's more like narcotic, I guess. But also on the palm of the king, it's more of like a seal or a stamp. Who knows? I remember when building spreads used to be fun and easy. It's like the more of them I've built live, the deeper they try to go. And I'm just like, okay, how do I build this? I feel like I've bitten off more than I can chew. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's fine. Oh, I wanted to look up that word to see if it meant anything. Chemical with a Y instead of an E or an I. Oh. Uh, oh, it's a book. The Chemical Wedding, a novel. Hold up, what? The Chemical Wedding is a 1989 novel by Lindsay Clark about the intertwined lives of six people in two different eras. Inspired by the life of Marianne Atwood, the book includes themes of alchemy, the occult, fate, passion, and obsession. It won the Whitbread Prize for Fiction in 1989. Oh, it's a book. Okay, sure. What does the crone mean to me? The crone here would mean to me it's like a maturation of feminine energy. So I don't know if this is saying, I guess it could be saying that, I guess. Especially with like a 3D based model of masculinity or the masculine energy. It's like in masculines, youth and adolescence, it might be more destructive because it's more like egoically driven, or it's trying to make a name for itself, or that's what is said that it's supposed to do. But it's almost like, when a man is ready to like settle down and create a family, or for the dad that like builds a dog house for the dog, like the handyman type of energy. Like as masculine matures, it matures into a creator. Maybe, potentially, I don't know. Who knows? I really don't know what to do with this. But the mask is, oh, see the cave. This could be the trap door, because there was the trap door beneath the subconscious and conscious. It's like the connected basement, or the level beneath the basement. The mask is all about appearances. So I'll say the apparent face, in quotes, the apparent face. I want to say it's the home of the trickster, too. Like, I feel like the role of the trickster in here is to get you to see that was the thing, the trickster Garot's illusion. So it's almost like there's some illusion on the father. There's some way that we see the father that's an illusion based upon our interaction with the non-deified ancestral energy. So it's almost like it's deified masculine energy that's coming in, poking and prodding, trying to show us its truth, but the truth of like a higher masculine almost directly conflicts with our idea of the masculine. It's like we can't see masculine in that way, but deified actual masculine energy is like, well, this is the truth of who I am. So, you know what I mean? Like, I can't be anybody but who I am. And I think that's where like the cave comes in. I'll say it's our connection to the other face. I really want to put that Kachina on here. Maybe I'll just make another bullet point for deified ancestral energy, because that feels important. And it's almost like somebody being like, well, I can't accept that this is the truth of this energy. And then the energy is like, what do you want me to say? Sorry that you've had, like, if we're talking about like masculine energy, it's like, what do you want me to say? Like, sorry that you've only come across crappy dudes. Sorry that you've never experienced someone who like properly actually modeled to you what masculinity actually is, rather than like, it's almost like that. right? It's almost like if at the end of your life, if you don't subscribe to Christianity, if you don't believe in Christianity, and at the end of your life, you make it to the pearly gates and you still lived a good life. So the angel at the gate is like, you can go through. And then you're like, like thanks for letting me in, but like I can't believe like this version of heaven and like angels and God actually exists. And because blah 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 blah, because the Christians back down on earth were like this or were like that. And the angel is like, well, they're human. Sorry that you only had experiences with like bad Christians as your example of what Christianity is. And it's not like I'm trying to like build an example of what this is. So it's not to say that like there are bad Christians, but there is good and bad everybody. You know what I mean? I'm out of water. It's all evaporated. Yeah. It's the Archeo and the Wada known archetypes. Boxes. These are the Archeo. I actually got these in Chicago at a bookstore, I think. I think I went to a wedding in Chicago and I went into Barnes and Nobles because one of my friends said she bought some cards from Barnes and Nobles. And I was like, I didn't even know Barnes and Nobles had cards. And I got them. And then the other one, it's the Wild Unknown Archetypes. I don't have. Well, this is this box or the book. I don't have the actual box with me, but it's the Wild Unknown Archetypes. How do I put like subtitles on here? Somebody said subtitles like a long time ago, and I've never been able to like figure out how to do them. I have to look into it more. The Father. I mean, since again, since it came in reverse, it could be like the face we don't see, the hidden face, and then four would be like the truth of that face. Reveals a trapdoor between conscious and subconscious, a new spectrum revealed by the fusion of two prisms. This is the new spectrum slash higher. Oh, you ever start writing an R and you turn it into a U? Spectrum, the new spectrum. Okay, the new spectrum. What did it say? It was the higher. I like the way it said it. I have to look it up. And it talked about straightening drunken lopsidedness. There's a drunken lopsidedness that we have about something. And again, it's like it's no wonder or no surprise why we may be misguided in a certain arena because like it's all we have, it's like the knowledge or experience of. And that's why the energy almost again is like, well, like sorry that you've only experienced like crappy dudes, or sorry that you've only encountered people who like claimed this title or presented themselves in this way, but they didn't honor the energy in another way. You know what I mean? I'm sure you do. Or if you don't, then that's fine. Hold up. Here we go. What word did it use? Higher callings. Oh, that's it. The golden sun and silver moon pursue higher callings. Language as poetry, math as pattern, the elegant dance of body and soul, the high art of listening, eye contact, the ways of touching, timing, the reading of emotion, and kindness for its own sake. Like the creator is all of that. The creator is what those two, what it's like what the marriage of those two things creates. The new spectrum / the higher calling. That feels right. I feel like there needs to be, I'm not going to pull an archetype for it, but I feel like there needs to be another card for like the mother. Maybe I'll just put it on the other side. Yep, I'm doing it. 3 and 4. So it still ended up being the same number of cards. Still ended up being 6 cards. So this is kind of how I have it right now. CD. See, and then it feels like because of that, there's a part of this energy that's not even a trickster. Like we see it as a trickster because we can't see it in its truth. I don't know. We'll see. This is one of those, like some of these, I feel like I build the spread. I feel like in building the spread, like it's more of a whatever than like actually using it. That makes any sense. I also wanted to read the story of the Anima Animus. The Anima Animus's tale. Excuse me. I just burped and it tasted like beer. I haven't been drinking beer. It tasted very hoppy. Or like oat, like an oat stout, maybe. So not hoppy. Or like lagery. You know how like light beers are hoppy, but dark beers have like that. I don't know if it's like a nitro. Like if you have a nitro beer, how the head is like very. I don't know if that's like basic tasting or what. I don't know. Anyway, some masculine energy is throwing back cold ones while I'm on here sweating. I'm kidding. It is some kind of beer. So I'm tapping into these things. I'm sorry. Maybe it's the energy of libation, like the energy of a libation offered to ancestors, or it's a libation offering. It doesn't have to be to ancestors. Um, so if you have an ancestral altar or whatever, or even if you offer libations to like Gaia, maybe that was a little bit of a confirmation for you that they can taste it. I don't know. Anyway, the Anima Animus's tale. Turns out Eve didn't come. Oh, snap. Now we're getting real controversial. I'm just reading it from the book. Don't come for me. Don't come from me. Yeah, don't come from me either. Don't come for me. Turns out Eve didn't come from Adam's rib, or for that matter, any part of his anatomy. She and Adam were originally a single split being, an elegant experiment of pre evolution that couldn't hold its form when subjected to various external pressures. Once molecularly separated, man and woman still maintained elements of the other within, which left them in a vague state of longing for completion. Whilst unable to recreate their native state of union, occasionally they are able to strike an internal balance that permits a blissful coming together of the sexes that partially mimics their distant primal state. So we're talking about twin flames. That's the twin flame, like, people were like one and then they were split into like the masculine and the feminine and okay. It was the book. It was me. The two-headed, four-armed, androgynous beings from the moon. I don't know. Anyway. All right. Let's just get into it, shall we? What deck do I might as well use the Starman Tarot, you know? I might as well use a deck that I'm not even going to understand. Let me pull the Dolly. I'll need the book if I use the Dolly. Cause I don't understand people who like the Starman Tarot. I mean, I do, but I don't. I'm like, what do you get from this? But when the Star Tarot speaks, it speaks. So it's like in the context of a reading, it makes sense. But I feel like if I just look at the cards, I'm like, what does this even mean? Maybe that's the point. Do I have a deck? I wish there was like a double entendre deck, but it wasn't like sexual. If that makes sense. Because I feel like that would be perfect for this. Or I guess I could use the vice versas because they're double sided. But I feel like I don't know if being double sided is necessarily enough. I could always use two versions of the same deck. Are you really? Maybe I don't use any cards. I'm just going to intuit this one, okay? Take a deep breath. Fasten your socks because I'm about to blow them off your feet, even if you're wearing shoes, and that's real magic. Kidding. Why am I such a jokester today? I feel like I've been a little jokey. I'm always a little jokey, so it's not really anything new. Or do I have like a masculine deck that doesn't feel super masculine? What's the least feminine deck that I have? I don't know what deck to use. Maybe I'll use Oracle cards instead, since it's so almost open. And if I use Oracle cards, I want to go to the not Lafruma. My brain just said Lafruma. Magical Dimensions, Oracle cards, and activators. Because I talked about using that deck recently. And because the Ice Queen is in that deck, but the Ice Queen has an energy that I love because it's not what we think Ice Queen is. And I feel like that's kind of the point here. I think the point is kind of like it's not necessarily what you think. I need a deck that has a book that I absolutely love because it's not what I think. And I don't know if it's this deck, but I do have a deck that features two different creatures. That's right here. I think I'm going to use the Ravenous and Dracon Tarot. I think I'm going to use the Ravenous and Dracon Tarot. Yeah, I was kind of like low-key a little bit waiting, but I was also kind of low-key a little bit like, maybe not today. I just had to like... Now, the Ravenous and Dracon, this is the one I'm going to use. There may be some cards in here where the book has some entries where it's like, I wouldn't usually interpret the card in that way. Like, that's so whatever. You know what I mean? Basically, I need to not be Patrick when I read this. And there's like black and white on the back. I think this is the right call. I guess the Tarot of the Abyss is also black and white. The SKT Vitruvian is sepia, which is like black and white. How am I going to do this? So what I'm going to do is I feel like I need, maybe I don't. I feel like I need something to like anchor this. Like I need a definition for the polarity. You know what I mean? Like I need something to start, but after I pull all the cards, it feels like it would reveal itself or it would be self-evident in some way. So we'll see. And I am going to read the book. Ravenous and Dracon go on journeys and they're doing different stuff in different cards. So I'll say 1 hour and 10 minutes is where the actual reading starts. So this is the point in the reading where if you want to grab your own deck, you can pull alongside me. So we're going to pull 6 cards. I'm going to pull both of the 3s together and then both of the 4s together. So the first card, the mask, the apparent face. The second card, the cave, the connection to the other face. The third card, and there's going to be 2 third cards, the hidden face, which is the father. The fourth card, and there's 2 fourth cards, it's the new spectrum or higher calling. Maybe there should only be 1 higher calling because both of them are coming together, but I'm going to leave it as 2. And I think what's interesting about this is because it's almost like the hidden face of one might have ties to the apparent face of the other. It might not, who knows? What's calling you? Ooh. Why? An aspect of your HD self, my high definition self. What? Or like higher density, like my 5D self. Okay. There are 2 dragons. Hold up. Hold up. Where the second dragon at? Where the second dragon at? Hold up. Do you see this? Do you see this thing that I'm looking at that I'm not holding up to the camera? There are 2 dragons on the book. There are 2 different dragons. I always thought it was 1. I thought maybe I've noticed in some cards that the dragon looks a little different. But I've never realized that there were 2 different dragons. Does this dragon look like either one of them? Not really. Oh my gosh. Is this the baby dragon? So is this dragon the dragon that's created from these 2 dragons? Do these 2 dragons together make this dragon? Is that how this works? Is this the new spectrum dragon? Are these the Animus dragons? Is this what the light passes through? I'm so confused now. I feel like that's the whole point. That's the whole point. I think I picked the right deck, maybe. Gosh, we'll see. When you're as non-observant as I am, you're constantly experiencing mental effects. I kid. I really thought that there was only 1 dragon, though. I got excited. Okay. Through the Ravenous and Dracon Tarot, I ain't gonna call on. That's hilarious, though. Never mind, it's fine. Inside, that's a whole internal conversation that you can't hear unless you're a mind reader. Then welcome to the inside. Have fun trying to navigate. There are lots of train lines that just disappear into thin air, vanish, incomplete, have an infinite, like they branch off in an infinite number of paths, and if you take it backwards, you'll end up where you didn't even start. The inner machinations of my mind are an enigma. Anyway. I would kind of low-key love for a card to fall out just because I'd kind of low-key love to have that anchor. Woo! Woo! What was that? But I guess I don't need it. So this one is going to involve a little participation because I feel like it. So, through the magic of advancing technology, I will give you a little bit of time to choose. There we go. There's a poll. Vote. Oh gosh. Or don't. You can vote or not. It's if you want to vote, you can vote. I'm not forcing anybody to vote, but I'm putting out the thing. Yes, the Starman Tarot is a David Bowie thing, even though you didn't ask me. I think that's a question that I can answer. How do I look at this? Oh, I click it. Are y'all gonna make me make the decision? The numbers all still say 000. Somebody vote. Anybody vote. Oh, let me give it. I'll give it another minute. So I will just sit here. I'll check my phone. I'll be a millennial for a hot second. Anybody got some gum I can chew? Or I'm gonna give it until the clock says 1:17. I still can't believe that there. So I can't vote for Steph. There's a poll that you gotta click. Wait, what? Patrick doesn't. I remember so there was this guild. I was traumatized. Okay. There are people who experience things that are actually traumatic. Although it was a low form of trauma. I experienced a low form of light trauma. Where I was playing a game. I think I might have talked about it on here. There was this guild that I was a part of back in the day on World of Warcraft, and I had my microphone on, I guess, and my headset in, but I don't even remember what it was called. There was this third party software that people would use to raid, and I guess I was just on it. Maybe we had raided and I was just doing the thing, but it was in a different window. I wasn't paying attention to. And I'm singing Pussycat Dolls. When I grow up, I want to have boobies. I don't remember. And I finished singing the song. And then I hear they were like, why'd you stop? I want to hear some singing. Like my whole guild was on there. Just listening to me sing Pussycat Dolls as I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And nobody said anything until I was done. It was radio. And from that moment, I stopped using voice chat video games. Until I stopped, or until I started again every now and then, but I would try to be more mindful. And then, it was later than that, I was playing Warframe, I think, and doing the same thing, because I kind of just sing, you know? I'm kind of just like I said earlier, I could be experiencing some emotion and sing, or I can just be singing because I get singy sometimes. People say that real life isn't a musical. I think I get it from my mom. I think it's genetic because she'll just sing sometimes too, or somebody will say something or something will happen and then I'll start singing it as if real life were a musical, but I'm the only person that's in it. You know what I mean? But I was singing something and I'm playing Warframe and then I hear somebody. I'm like, oh my gosh, my mic was on. So I leave the group. I just left. That's embarrassing. Okay. So We see the results of the poll. It's a tie between number 2 and number 3. So I split the deck into 3 different piles. I split the deck into 3, and we were voting to see which one that I use. But see, I was going to decide between the 2, but since it's the Anima Animus, and we have a split, I'm actually going to pull both of them. Oh, gosh. Okay. And I'm just going to pull, like, right off the top. So, 1, 2. I need to set this here. 3, 3, 4, 4. See, but I already put 2 of these, so I probably could have just left it. But it's too late. I've already done it. Is this one? Oh, I'm looking at the bottom of the deck. Well, the bottom of the deck of number 3 was the sun. Oh my gosh! So the bottom of number 2 was the star. The bottom of number 3 is the sun, and the star is a sun. The sun is a star. You know what I mean. But I'm pulling off the top. So 1, 2, 3. I want this one on top so I can remember which one came from where. 4. Okay. And for those who are curious, the bottom of the first pile was the Page of Cups. Bum. So, why do I do this to myself? I feel like I ask myself that question far too often for me to continue doing the things that I choose to do. Okay. So I could also do this like in 2 ways, which I think I might do. Give me a moment though, because I'm gonna write 1. So you can either choose 2 or 3, either the sun or the star. And I'm actually gonna read these like separate. I was gonna try to read them together. If I was thinking, I could have, but I wasn't, so I'm not gonna. 2, I'm gonna say 12244. That seems auspicious to me. So choose 1 or 2, or you can watch both. No one is forcing you to do either. Speaking of, this is a small aside. Speaking of like the emperor being some like weird, controlling, manipulative, whatever, like the Taurus in me sometimes, I don't even know if it's the Taurus in me or the distorted masculine within my distorted masculine. but but it's like I wish I could like for no other reason than the trickster in me or the just absolute lunatic. I don't know. But it's like I wish I could like do readings where it's like you pick one, and if you pick more than one, then neither one of them resonate. It's like you were greedy, you get nothing, you lose. Good day, sir. But why would I do like that? Why would I do that? Why would I be like that? Because I'm a weirdo. I don't know. Okay. Maybe you can relate to me, number 2. Maybe I chose number 2. Maybe I chose number 1 and I don't even get a reading. So, the apparent face for number 2 is the 7 of Pentacles in position 1. I need my cheat sheet. So we have the element of Earth, the 7 of Pentacles, the connection to the other face. So the basement between number 2 and number 3 is the 9 of Wands, which is interesting. because the Nine of Wands came out in the WADA known tarot, and I only mention it. I always mention it, but I only mention it because I wanted to not mention it this time. But I only mention it because we see the 9 wands, and then we see the moon. But in the Ravenous and Dracon, the 9 wands start like blocking the moon, whereas in the WADA known, they lead up to the moon. It's also interesting that so far we only see Ravenous. We don't see Dracon at all. So the apparent face is the Raven. In position 3 for the hidden face, the father 3 is the Hermit with the moon, and then we see Dracon and the moon. Dracon, or one of the dragons, is the primary focus, but we see Ravenous at the bottom right there. This being the Hermit, I don't know how deep you have to get into the basement to find it. Because it's the Hermit, and the Hermit is all about journeying within. I don't know if it's like as soon as you go into the basement, boom, you find it. Or if it's like you go into the basement and then you have to hermit around for a while with your little lantern in the abyss to try to find it. I don't know if it necessarily matters. The other hidden face is the 5 of Wands. Oh, snap. Not only do we have more than one raven, there's also this brand new bird. Hello? Is she the feminine? I mean, I did put this card here for to show the face that we don't see. But like with it being all these ravens up here, this feels like a lot of like self conflict. Yesterday, I got on Tumblr, which I don't really do hardly ever anymore. And not just because Tumblr changed, but because everybody left Tumblr. But I got on Tumblr yesterday, and they were talking about how they don't like. It was a post I saw on Tumblr about how eldritch horrors are like displayed, and how like the theme of madness in eldritch horror is displayed or appears in media like today, and how like a true eldritch horror would be like, because they were like, an eldritch horror today would be like an ant looks at a keyboard and it's all these strange symbols and all of these things that it doesn't know, and it goes mad. And they were like, that's not an eldritch horror. Like an eldritch horror would be the ant looks at a keyboard as these random like symbols and things that it doesn't understand, but then has an epiphany that it's a language, that these things when assembled together mean something. And in that it sees itself as an ant. It sees itself as small, and it realizes and recognizes that there's an entire world that is so much greater than its existence. And in that world are these beings where that is a language, where it means something. And then the moment after that, it goes back to being an ant again. And it's like, how is it supposed to live its life as if it didn't experience what it experienced? How is it supposed to look at everything it does as if it actually matters when there's this greater world that was just revealed to it? And it's the ant's struggle to grasp that reality, or it's the ant trying to make sense out of that drives it to madness or whatever. And the only reason why I'm saying that, or why I bring it up here specifically, is because of this 5 of Wands. Because there are so many ravens. Like these feel like different aspects of the same raven. That as soon as we go into the basement, or when we get into how these things are actually a part of the same thing, and the Mausolea Oracle, it's the one guy who's like people don't like people can't make sense out of what he says, and he's like it holds a little bit of an energy of madness because of what he knows but can't make sense of, or because of how he can't really articulate it. It's like that. And I don't know if like this is the truth of who we are. Oh, it also, because there was another part of it where it was like, does the ant try to make these higher beings an ant, another ant? And I don't know if this is us trying to make Dracon a raven just like us, but obviously different from us, because we can't, like, there's something about an inability to sort of like reconcile these two things that goes down in the basement. And then in position 4, we have the Knight of Swords. This is the truth that's born. And it's interesting because the truth that's born, or what did I say? The new spectrum, the higher calling, is the Knight of Swords, and the Knight of Swords moves with a certain truth, and the Knight of Swords is very fast. But the Knight of Swords, it's like the Knight of Swords has a truth, but it might not be the truth. As in, the truth of the Knight of Swords might evolve, or it might become more clear as the Knight of Swords uses it. But in certain contexts, the Knight of Swords has enough information to begin moving. I would say in many, I struggle to say most. Like I hesitate to say most. But this is all Dracon. But this Dracon, I don't know if it's the same as the other one because the hair is a little different. The wings are different too. So this might be, whereas when we first enter the basement, we struggle to reconcile those differences. The new spectrum, this might be the conclusion that we reach. And what's interesting, I guess, is that, again, in the beginning for number 2, it's all ravenous, it's all ravens. The primary source of conflict is like the raven trying to integrate, like it's trying to create a sense of identity when exposed to all of this greater information. But with the Knight of Swords, the new spectrum, it's just the dragon. It's no longer a raven at all. And see the heart on the tail of this dragon, and then the heart on the necklace of this white bird, this white raven. These might be the same. This is something, because like the 7 of Pentacles is so like, because it's cultivation and because it's the energy of like growing things in a materialistic way or like in the real world, it is like a very mundane sort of view. And the basement of that, it's like, it's almost like the magic that lies beneath the mundane. The Hermit is going to be like probably the easiest, most surefire way to actually begin to see what lies beneath the surface. So it's interesting because for number 2, it feels like it's a natural part of one's journey to be exposed to more than anything that they've ever experienced in life, or it's a natural part of that one's journey to come across something that hints at something much, much, much greater being at play, being in existence, or whatever. On the other side, we have the Ace of Cups. On the other side, we have the Ace of Cups. So it's almost like on the other side, we see that these two are indeed one and the same. Because this dragon looks closer to this dragon than the Hermit. Or maybe it's the Hermit dragon, but the wings aren't torn. Either way, no, it is feeling more like this dragon. It's almost like this raven. Good night. Who's leaving? Holly. See you later. All the best with the move and everything. This is so interesting. It's almost like number 2 is initiated by a trickster to understand its own trickster nature. Because again, like the Ace of Cups is almost saying like the new spectrum, what comes out of this, it's not only Ravenous having this understanding of like these higher beings or having an understanding of dragons, and that like in a world where you've only met other ravens, that there are like dragons that actually exist. Once this identity crisis has been resolved. Oh my gosh, and these are the muses. The muses on the wings of the dragons. We don't see them on any of the dragons here, but on the box, you can see that on the wings of the dragons, there are muses. You see them? Like right there. So it's almost like these things, like when they attach to the wings of the raven, then Ravenous becomes the dragon or something like that. Girl, I don't know. Like I said, every time I do these, they get further and further out there. But this is interesting. But another thing is, so not only does this lead to Ravenous being able to engage understanding of a higher power, or being able to have a new, more personal relationship with spirit in a way that tells you a whole bunch of stuff that Patrick can't tell you. But it's like Ravenous realizes that like there's some kind of duality to its own existence. And it exists, like there's a piece here. There's an understanding that like encapsulates or incorporates all of it in a way that Ravenous wouldn't have been able to understand before. So speaking of the Kachina, speaking of the deified ancestor, it's almost like being the child of Psyche or whatever. Like if Psyche had a child before she was deified, but that child remained and had a child and had a child. It's almost like that potential of deification because someone within that ancestral line did it. The possibility for all of their ancestors is there. Now we're all made in the image of the divine. We all have that potential within us, but I guess it's like once somebody actualizes that potential, then it carries down through the line like a generational gift, an ancestral gift, where so often we might think of ancestral curses or generational curses. Like my parents struggled with this, and their parents struggled with that, and their parents struggled with that, and their parents struggled with that. And so that struggle sort of, because it's almost like that's the only way that it's been modeled to handle, address, or deal with something. So the pattern gets passed along. But this is like the opposite. This is where Patrick throws his hands up and says, I just read the cards, girl. You got to put it together yourself. I don't know. All right. See you, Steph. I'm glad to see that. Well, I guess you didn't. I'm glad to see that you're okay. I'm assuming you're okay because I saw you. And I know the other day it was real like stormy and everything. So for everyone who's leaving, thank you for stopping by. And I wish you the best, obviously. I like how I say obviously when things aren't necessarily obvious, but anyway. Number 2 was real interesting. I did not expect that. But this, okay, I'm not completely surprised though. Because if this in some way builds off of the last spread, which was the lion spread, which kind of sort of built off the previous spread, which was the Herite spread, This is why lion didn't help. So lion in the last spread is almost like the deified ancestor, is the kachina, is the trickster that gets you after you reach a certain point, maybe in your maturity, maybe in your maturation cycle, where it begins to tell you of these things that exist within you, of this dormant greatness or whatever. And it doesn't do anything for you because it's for you to sort of like grow into it. I don't know, bro. That could be your future self. It could be your higher self. Because there was that, like, the future is coming back to the present in some capacity to make sure that it happens. And that was when I was using the not Dungeons and Dragons. I think it was the Neon Dynasty Magic cards, Magic the Gathering. I think like the Future Sentinel and the whoever else. Okay, interesting. So I guess so if you're pulling along, I guess it's also interesting that the Seven of Pentacles is the apparent face, where the Eight of Pentacles before was like how Lion sort of recognizes us. But anyway. The apparent face could be something that you're working towards, something that you're building towards, something that you're doing that is, it's almost like something that you're doing that's sustaining, nurturing, cultivating something else within you. So it's like, for example, if within your own life you are learning to like say no to people when you don't have the time or energy to give to something, or if you're like speaking up at work or whatever, like you're using your voice more, you using your voice more is putting you using your voice more is you exercising a certain aspect of your authenticity. And so the more authentic you're being in your communication, for example, it's like there's something else that, like, you being in your authenticity, it's also feeding that. And maybe it's something that like you really want to do, but like you don't think it's for you, or you'd never admit that you want to do it or something like that. But it's like once you start to communicate your truth enough, and once you start to say no enough, and then you reach that point where it's like, well, I might as well do the thing that I really want to do, or I might as well do this other thing, or something will make you think of it. And you're like, you know what? Yeah, I'll do that. Screw this job. I'm going to go do that thing that I want to do because now I am confident and strong enough in me to say that. or, you know, because I've built a relationship with the divine that's strong enough to that I know, because the divine is telling me that it is for me to do this, and I know I'll be taken care of, and I don't have to rely on this. So I'm going to trust because that's what my intuition, discernment, and guidance is telling me, and that's not because it's just what Patrick said on some video that I ain't even potentially watched. But sorry. But it's like, it's not because it's what Patrick said, it's because that's what my intuition, discernment, and guidance is actually telling me. So like, you know what? I've done this enough. I'm gonna step out on a leap of faith and I'm gonna do the thing. And then you like, that's why it's like you doing all of these other things was actually like nourishing, cultivating, caring for that to the point where like you would actually do it. The Nine of Wands then comes in as a series of challenges that you face. One thing that I've been seeing a lot, specifically within the past 24 to 48 hours, it seems, like as I've come across different videos, and even like videos that weren't necessarily like tarot or spiritual or whatever. It's like whenever you've been in a certain habit, or whenever you're used to something, basically, whenever you start anything new, like, it is perfectly predictable and expected to be in a certain like uncertainty, or to feel like certain levels of challenge, or to be really nervous because you're doing something completely brand new. Like, you have a habit, you had a habit, you had a pattern, you had a certain fixed thing in your life for however long, and now you're doing something else. It's like it's expected that like you be nervous, or you be like have some anxiety or whatever. But that doesn't necessarily mean it like it's not for you. Like, again, it's to be expected. And so the Nine of Wands, when you get into the basement, It's almost like these are like the first challenges that you encounter, but they're not, again, like they're not completely unexpected, right? Like you just quit your job, you just walked out one day. Of course, like it's a like the first day you might not know what to do, right? Or it's like, of course, if you're starting something new, it may take you some time to like gather resources or to like assemble a team or whatever. Like whatever initial challenges comes, like these feel like the initial challenges. But the more you do that, because again, you listen to your intuition, guidance, and discernment, not just Patrick. You didn't listen to Patrick. It doesn't matter if Patrick said it or if Patrick didn't say it. The part that you did listen to Patrick about was you listening to your intuition, discernment, and guidance, because that's the most important thing that Patrick will ever say. Everything else that Patrick says is just gobbledygook and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? But because your intuition, guidance, and discernment also told you that you'd be supported, the divine comes in and support. And so, although you have those initial challenges, although you have those initial anxieties, it's like things sort of like continue to work, right? And then it's like, as things are working for you, with the hermit being this hidden face, it's now revealing to you all of these things within you that have always been there. It took you having the courage to like put yourself in a different situation, or it took you having the courage to remove yourself from a situation, or it took you having the courage to do whatever you did to be in the situation and then to receive that support to see this thing. But when you begin to see it, you'll realize that it was always within you. Maybe there were different points in your life where it would try to surface, but you would like fight it for whatever reason. All of the reasons that you said no before, basically. But now that you've given yourself what you needed, now that the thing is strong enough within you and you've done it, you'll begin to like get to know yourself in ways that you've never known yourself. And you'll get to maybe know the divine in ways that you didn't necessarily know the divine. Maybe your certain brand or your certain avenue or your certain manifestation tools you'll come across. Maybe you'll be able to fine tune and hone your discernment, because it's like when the divine said this in these ways and I followed it, I was supported. Maybe you get to distinguish and differentiate your like intuition and discernment from your anxiety or your fear or your paranoia or anything that's more like egoic and instinctual and about survival mode. And in that like you get a stronger sense of communication, because again, like now you know. And then what that leads you to is like, it's almost like there's this level of confidence, speaking of like the divine and stuff like that. One second. We're talking about beans. I'll say save me a little bit. I love beans. I want to say this before she, no, before she freezes them. This is like the deepening of spirit, the deepening of that relationship. This is you moving in that truth. And again, because of everything that you've overcome in taking that leap of faith, and because of the challenges that, like, because this energy isn't like this self conflict, because this isn't like the million and one reasons why you shouldn't do the thing that the divine tells you to do, you do pick up a lot more speed. You do move with that truth. And again, it's like it deepens that relationship. It gets you where you want to go. And then these muses, they read like muses to me. The like deified creative support. The muses are all about inspiration, basically like deified inspiration, be it in music and poetry, like erotic poetry or tragedy, or I think one of them might even be like history or something. Or maybe that's just like her name. I don't know. Melpomene and terpsichore and I want to say Claudia, but it's like Cleo and Calliope. I don't know why Claudia popped into my mind. Yeah. And again, it's like it's a point in your evolution. It's a point in your journey where this was eventually bound to happen. But look at you. I don't know what you're gonna do or where you're gonna be going. Be oof. Make room, make way, because 2 was coming through. Wait. And I'm gonna set these right here. Now, if you chose 3, I'm gonna say you start at 150. If you chose 3, you start at 150. And I'm gonna write it down. Timestamps are approximations on this channel. They might start at that exact time. They start whenever I say they start. And like sometimes I'll make the timestamp, but I'll still be talking about the one before it. Like I'll write it down and then finish a thought. And maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. You just joined at 333, 33%, and you missed number 3. No, I'm starting number 3. So you just missed number 2. I did 2 and 3. There was no 1. So, Hi Ariel, how are you? I hope the kitties are feeling a lot better today. You know what? I'm gonna grab for number 3. You get 3 extra cards. Of course, it's the Emperor. Why? Who? Hell? I think the Magician is behind this Emperor. The Magician is behind the Emperor. We're talking about the Father and the Creator, and you get the Magician and the Emperor and the 7 of Cups, which is interesting. Are these all Ravenous? No. Oh, you can see the muses on the wings. See? On the wings of the dragons. Now you can see them. I needed a few cards to fan myself, number 3, but I figured I'd also show you what they are because it's getting a little warm. It's getting very warm. Warm with an H. It's getting warm. Good night, Eve. What time is it? Oof. Have an excellent night. Enjoy your Friday, TJIF tomorrow. I hope work isn't too work if you got to go to work. Whew. Okay. Number 3. You started almost 2 minutes ago, your timestamp. Am I going to fix your timestamp? Nah, because I think these cards are important for you. The Emperor, the Magician, and the 7 of Cups. Maybe this is like, I'm not even going to say distorted creation. It can be, but I'm not going to say it because we're human. We're human and we live on Earth, and there are many things that we want, many things that we desire, many pathways that we may want to go down. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. But you may not necessarily be able to choose everything that you bring into being, if that makes sense. You may create more than you have the time, energy, or effort to like sort of choose. And it may not necessarily be for you too, because maybe someone else will take on that creation and give it a new life. It's almost like gifting your creations a new home. That'll be good for them. You know what I mean? And then they take it and they go wherever with it. So for number 3, so in your position of the apparent face is the 2 of Swords for you. Which is interesting because in this deck, it's like 2 swords balancing on the beak. And they're not crossed. Sometimes she's holding the swords like with her arms crossed. They're not crossed. There's something interesting and kind of magical going on here. The connection to the other face. So the basement for you, number 3, is the Lovers. This is very like everything is connected by love. Like we are all one type of energy. You know what I mean? But we also see that there are 2 different dragons, right? No, we don't. We don't at all. We don't. For some reason, I was looking at the canopy of this tree as this really looked like a green dragon to me for some reason. I don't know why. But we do see a dragon that's different than the dragon we saw for number 2. And Ravenous is on the tail of this dragon. It's interesting that your basement, I'm going to try not to compare the two because they're not necessarily to compare. Comparison is the thief of joy, they say. But your basement, it's almost like your basement is open. Is your refrigerator running? You better go catch it. But it's like as soon as you open the basement, it's like a surprise party. Your hidden face is the 4 of Cups on one side. And it is the Queen of Pentacles on the other. Now, this dragon, I want to say, is different than the other dragon. How many dragons are in this deck? I don't know. I chose this deck to incorporate the book, and I didn't even do it for number 2. I guess number 2 didn't need it. Not to say that I'm necessarily going to read the book for you either, because I might not. See, okay. What I immediately noticed in your hidden face of the 4 of Cups is that Braveness is wearing the heart locket. The same heart locket that is gigantic in the basement. And then the other hidden face is the dragon with the heart on its tail. The 4th cup is holding a timer though. Okay. So those are the hidden faces. The new spectrum / higher calling for the 4 of Cups is the 6 of Swords. And then the new spectrum / higher calling on the other side is the Fool. So you got 2 like brand new energies. Whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know why. Brand new. That's why that song came into my mind. I was like, I don't know why that song popped into my mind. That's why. Like both of these are like they have a certain energy of movement. Also, the raven, the dragon is carrying the raven somewhere. Maybe that's like why, like your basement is the lovers. Like there's already some kind of connection or rapport or something like existing between these two that like the new spectrum is like dragon taking raven somewhere. And now the reading rainbow is in my mind. I can fly twice as high. The reading rainbow. I don't know. I can go anywhere. I don't even know the song. Take a look in a book. The reading rainbow. I am so easily entertained. I love it. I love it. When joy and laughter comes easy, who am I to question its abundance? Because there will be times where it's hard to come by. So appreciate it when you got it, right? Don't question it out the door. Am I gonna read the book for you? I might read the book for you. I think, I don't know. Are you really? It's contagious. Is it astrological? This Two of Swords, there's a thing about, um, oh, what was it? The chemical wedding. Chemical wedding, equal partners within a single form. Something about that, equal partners within a single form. It's almost like there may be something about you that you like feel. Something within your energetic body. I can only read what I can read. I've always only been like that's true for anybody, right? We can only read what comes to us to read. And so this melty face energy comes out, girl. If it resonated, resonate. If it don't, it don't. Don't force anything to fit. You know how it worked out for Cinderella's sisters. They both got bloody heels, and neither one of them got the prince. So, or bloody feet. You know, one of them lost a toe, the other one lost a bit of her heel. But again, neither one of them got the prince. Don't force it to fit. It feels like it. It feels like you are the form in which two, it's like you are the form inhabited by the cause, like you are the harmonized form, or like, and it's in this Two of Swords because like both sword points come down and like feed into the mouth of the raven. It's like you may not have necessarily like been able to see it or been able to put words into it, but it feels like it would have always been felt. And that's why like the basement gets immediately into the lovers, like immediately into these two having to like, again, like that's why it felt like as soon as you open the basement door, it's like, here you go. What does that mean, girl? I feel like you're asking a little much of me because I already got to read this. Okay, that's why you're pulling along with me. Your cards will tell it what it means for you. Your cards will tell you. It will clarify it for you. This is general. Again, don't take it if it don't resonate. You don't want bloody, like you don't want a missing toe and a shaved heel, and you still can't fit the shoe. Don't let your stepmama convince you otherwise. And it's interesting that the Kachina is the deified ancestor because this could be like a family tree in the back. Girl, is this like Black Panther? What's like the ancestral realm that they go to? Or um, honestly, I kind of want to just be done. Maybe this is one of like you are so close to whatever this is, girl. Just have them tell you. Leave Patrick out of it. I ain't gotta be the middleman. I really don't have to be. Not for you. But also, like you get the Emperor, the Magician, and the Seven of Cups. Like the whole thing, or one of the themes with building the spread is like, when it comes to the Emperor, we always see it as like the manipulator, or even the Magician. People would be like, "Oh, be careful of the Magician because they could be a manipulator." And it's not to roll my eyes because I know that like it happens. Like there are magician emperor energies out there that are all about control, all about manipulation and whatnot. But here it was like there's something within father archetype that we don't see because of our experience with the masculine on earth, because of our experience with fathers on earth as a whole, because of our experience with the person, we form certain opinions about the divine. And people are people. How accurately are we to embody and be that divine on earth? For you, number three, you have the potential to be very whatever, because you are whoever, whatever, in the flesh, in form. What does that mean for you? Pull your own cards. I don't know. But it's already here. Like, I picked up the fan for you. The fan for you, like the emperor and the magician. Your father is it's almost like, because there was the apology to everyone else. It's like, well, sorry that like you came across bad Christians, or sorry you came across Christians who are more about hate, or that who are honestly like so about hatred that they never showed you the love of Christ. Sorry that was your experience. Sorry that they were so condemning and they were so busy being the judge, jury, and executioner of your soul that they never showed you the love of your creator who actually does the judging. Sorry that was never your experience, but it's like you actually had a good experience. So something about the truth of this energy for you, it's not as hidden. For you, it may be a no-brainer. For you, it might be common sense that's not too common. Because that could be this too. Like, because you know the truth, but even though you don't see it around you, you like intuitively, instinctually know. What do you mean? It's too late because she didn't read her text messages. I said that. I applied. Y'all were here for that. I replied immediately. Immediately. And she's like, oh, too late. I'm just now seeing this. I wanted those beans. Me encanta frijoles. I love beans. Sorry. It's fine. It is a little hilarious though, because I was like, I'm sorry, be patient because I want to reply to this before she puts them away. And she's like, up too late. I put them away. What's interesting about both of these is that both of these have an energy of like it's a matter of time until your curiosity leads you to the basement and you discover that Narnia exists on the other side of the wardrobe. But I don't know. You are interesting, three. I'm not trying to clock anybody tea or whatever, because I know, like, I can taste strawberry hibiscus when I drink strawberry hibiscus, and I know that you're trying to pass it off as some jasmine raspberry. But I know you know it's strawberry hibiscus, and I know that you know that the other girls don't know that it's strawberry hibiscus. But I know that you know that for some reason strawberry hibiscus is difficult to come by, but they can find some jasmine raspberry. So you tell them jasmine raspberry, and you let them be disappointed when jasmine raspberry don't taste like yo strawberry hibiscus, Scorpio. But I know, I see you. You don't have to be a Scorpio. I was just kidding. Um, but there's a truth within you, there's a knowledge within you that you are very intimate with, that you know. But you also know, it's almost like if you feel ahead of your time, I wouldn't be surprised. Because it's almost like the hidden face is like the world isn't ready to receive your truth, or the world isn't ready to receive you in truth, or the world is still working up to some knowing that you have. Because again, the heart locket is around your neck. You immediately encounter the lovers. These swords are not crossed. They will fit perfectly. Like this raven is swallowing two swords and they never cross, girl. You are the embodiment. You are something within the form. You ain't got to tell me. Your cards will tell you. I can't tell you. But it's like, is the world ready for it? Because that's what, like, the cup on the cloud has the timer on it. Is the world ready? And Patrick can't answer that question either. So, Patrick is just the dude that's here. This jasmine raspberry is delicious. This is some delicious jasmine. This is, yep, it's jasmine tea. It's jasmine raspberry. It's this new thing that, whatever. This jasmine raspberry is exquisite. Impeccable. I am a little sad about the beans. A little bit. Because I specifically got on here to say I want some. It's fine. So, the new spectrum, the higher calling, is the Six of Swords and the Fool. What's interesting is, though, this feels like when the world is ready. Okay. So, when the world is ready, because the Queen of Pentacles is in the Family of Pentacles, the Family of Pentacles just like, it's like their energy is so good, it's contagious and infectious. I guess affectious too, because it affects things. And they just exude abundance. I was gonna say exorbitance, but I guess they can't. They exude abundance. Like the world around them just naturally flourishes too, right? Since you already know something within, you ain't got to tell me. I can sip the jasmine raspberry too. When the world is ready, you assume you activate your higher knowing, or you activate that thing that is within you to give to the world. You take the shape of that dragon, and then you fairy, or you take the other ravens to wherever they need to go. It's like you become the vehicle for this change when the world is ready for it. And that's all I gotta say for you. I'm done. Interesting. So interesting. Like, y'all may have had fathers that were destroyers and not creators, but if you want to know the truth of the energy, I don't know. Very interesting either way. But I feel like, Age of Aquarius, it's the time for that. You know what I mean? Like, the collective is going to be ready for whatever. And like how there are solutions that exist to a lot of the problems that we have today, we just got to be ready for our problems to no longer be problems. It makes me think of that image that became a meme of like scientists remind the world that they're ready to go green whenever. Scientists remind us that we already have the technology to solve our problems, but because of money, and oil and gas and electric, they're saying we don't. I don't know. Anyway. Wow, number 3. I'm going to pull up. Ooh, there are cards that are still on the table. Number 2 is still sitting out. Almost put the deck away without you, number 2. You weren't going to let me do that. You were like, hey, don't forget our cards. I'm going to be like, I'm missing 6 cards from this deck. Both of these are interesting. This is the reason why Lion ain't helping nobody. Lion like, y'all need no help. Lion's like, I can help fill in the gaps. I can help give you some information. But as far as me coming in and doing this for you, you got this. And now, because of the Animus, I understand why you got this. I understand why Lion is like, you're deep freezing. Such an interesting energy. But with the trickster at the bottom of the deck, it's like, it's one of those it's like after you learn something or whatever, and you're like, I know that like I had to learn this lesson, but did I really have to learn it that way? Like, could you just not like tell me? And then they're like, no, because you're too stubborn, or because like you really believed whatever. Like, you wouldn't have listened to me even if I told you, so I didn't even tell you. And you're like, well, you still could have told me even if I wouldn't have listened. And they're like, it's part of the growth, it's part of the growing process, it's part of maturing. You did well either way, so you're like, anyway. Interesting. This card don't want to get off my thumb. Bottom of the deck is the Ace of Cups. The card that came out is the King of Wands, which is all Dracon. King of Wands, Ace of Cups. Interesting. So interesting. I've been telling you for years, by the way. Yeah. I'm glad I could confirm and relay that for you. Like I said, I feel like in that reading, all up and down, this is something that you already know because your intuition, discernment, and guidance has already been telling you this. It don't matter what Patrick is saying. Just because Patrick is like, there's something super powerful and you are the embodiment of whatever, don't mean you is if you ain't. You know? And I'm not in the business of whatever. But if you want to force it to fit, that's out of my control. You know what I mean? It's almost like it does a disservice to those who it truly resonates for when we don't speak it because someone who it doesn't resonate for might pick it. At the end of the day, that's why I say always listen to your own intuition, guidance, and discernment. It's not my fault if you take something that doesn't resonate for you and you treat it as if it does. And I hope that my following is concentrated enough that no one here would do that. If you do, I'm sure there's something in it that you learn. Don't force it to fit if it doesn't. You only cause yourself greater heartache and headache and pain and everything else. And I feel like it would be me sort of like infantilizing you and treating you like you can't make your own decisions or judgments, treating you like you don't have thinking, feeling, rationing, whatever, rationalizing whatever if I don't do it just because you might. King of Wands, driven to dive directly into what invigorated his very essence. Driven to dive into what invigorated his very essence. I love that. Which is kind of what the basement is about, right? Maybe not. I don't know. Take it as it resonates. It is a little bit of like, you sprinkle it everywhere just in case. Take it as it resonates. If it don't fit, don't make it. If it don't apply, let it fly. Driven to dive directly into what invigorates his very essence, this king was one to take on things in fiery, wild passions that would make a lesser Dracon hide. He had no time for those who were unable to meet him in every aspect fully and utterly in the present. You need to have people in your life that are living in the present and their own light and passions. The energy you carry is one which renders others to stand and admire your ability to have things miraculously come together. They may not understand that it is due to your diligence and passion to your cause that your reality is created. In the reverse, this energy has a tendency to set in the nature of impassioned workaholic. Your ideas and passions have consumed you at all levels. It is best for you to work through this energy as fast as possible. So it's like for those who chose pile 2, you might be working through that. That's like the 7 of Pentacles that turned into the 9 of Wands, and then the Hermit was there. Ace of Cups at the bottom of the deck. See, I'm reading the book. But okay, this one has 2 people. Time and the locket were chained together for an eternity at the base of the chalice while the protective arms of the goddesses guided Ravenous toward her higher spiritual self. Dracon watched from a distance, awed at the transformation, and felt compassion, knowing it was time for Ravenous to test the waters and fulfill her sense of self. At the beginning of any journey, there needs to be a moment that you are willing to give yourself the time and love to achieve the best version of yourself. Taking a moment to begin the process to identify your weaknesses and strengths is needed during this time. Always remember that you have significant support all around. The reverse of this card reminds you that by giving yourself emotionally to all causes, you may not have enough to refill your own needs. Step back and breathe and make time to honor yourself. Oh, and the Ace of Cups, the locket and the heart and the watch are like tied together. So if you chose number 3, because number 3, Ravenous was wearing the locket, but she was waiting on that time. But when the time comes, I would say don't be afraid to like stand in your authenticity or to stand in your truth. But you know, we're human, and if it's new, it's going to be daunting. It can be daunting. Doesn't have to be. It can be. But you have all of the love and support that you need to be what you need to be for those who need you. You know, and it's part of that. Like it's what we do for each other. You know. So there you go. I'm just like stubborn sometimes, so I don't really need confirmation either. But with some things, it's like I don't need confirmation, but if I don't see it a million times, I might never actually do it. You know, it's like, oh, so like y'all are telling me that this is actually like important or time sensitive. Okay, well, I guess this time it can't wait until I finish watching my anime, huh? Everything in its own time, always. Anything that we experience along our journey can be worked into our journey in a way that makes it a part of the experience that we were bound to have. Right? It's just like sometimes we can potentially unnecessarily complicate things in ways that they don't need to be by forcing ourselves to do something before we're ready, or by forcing a knowing when we're told to wait. But again, we find out. We live life. No problem. Glad to be a humble servant, a vessel, a reader of the cards. Ooh. The king came out. And I was like, of course. The king is interesting because the lion was the queen. The lion was the king. Today is the king. The lion was the queen. I'm trying to think of the archetype. Anima is the king. Bottom of the deck is the judge. The king and the judge. Ooh. Okay. It is low key given a little Solomon energy just because Solomon was a king who was also a judge. It is also giving, I did the 3 kings of the underworld back at my buddy's place when he was in Columbus: Aeacus, Rhadamanthus, and Minos. I wanted to put them in a playlist. No, I wanted to like get the spreads because I wanted to use one of them one time. And I can't remember. I don't think I wrote them down anywhere. And then I was like, I'll just have to watch the video and create it. I was like, that never happened. So. But Aeacus, Rhadamanthus, and Minos. Aeacus and Rhadamanthus were basically, they were kings that had a lot of morality and character. And so after they died, they became judges in the afterlife, in the underworld. And so they judge incoming souls. Minos is also one of the judges or whatever, but I don't know. We don't talk about Minos. He's the reason why the Minotaur is down, locked up in the labyrinth, because he was given the white bull to sacrifice. And when it came time to sacrifice the white bull, he couldn't sacrifice it. He refused to sacrifice the white bull that was given to him literally to sacrifice. But when the time came, he couldn't do it. So one of the guides had his wife fall in love with the bull, and then they gave birth to the Minotaur that he locked up in the basement, and then proceeded to sacrifice other people's children to like sate or whatever, to entertain the Minotaur, but not like other people from his own kingdom. He like went to some kingdom that he had dominion over that he like dominated or whatever. He'd sent their children, like 7 girls and 7 boys. But his daughter fell in love with Theseus. I think it was Theseus, one of the guesses, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't Perseus. And it was Ariadne that gave him the sword and the thread so that he'd be able to find his way out of the labyrinth after he slew the Minotaur. But Minos still became one of the judges of the underworld. For what reason? Maybe it was the money. I don't know. Maybe it was connections, because it's like you look at like the myth of Aeacus and you look at the myth of Rhadamanthus and it's like, wow. And then you look at the myth of Minos and it's like, how? That was unintended. But anyway, a king judge. It's just like, it's that good emperor. It's that good king energy. The one who's wise and compassionate and kind, and whose position and power doesn't cause him to do some weird like ego trip, whatever. I really wish I had those spreads though. I can't remember why I wanted to use it, but actually, I think it was the second one that I did. There was like an angel or something that helps the king, or there was like a higher power that assisted. I want to say it was Rhadamanthus, because I want to say I did Aeacus first. But it's interesting because it's almost like that was the trickster that helps us see the other. I don't know, anyway. Sure, I'll take it. Bottom of the deck is the Tear. Or is it the Tear? The card that came out is the Offering. This makes me think, I don't remember. Oh, the seed is under the Tear, which is the Offering. This makes me think of, I believe it was Gate 2, when Reem, the Rare Gazelle, did the 8 Babylonian Gate series, and it was Goddess Ninlil, where like pain, like there was the like pain and tears of pain watered the soil of like rebirth or something. So it's almost like it's turning something, like when something tragic ends up leading to something beautiful. But it made me, in Once Upon a Time, there was some kind of magic that somebody needed like a tear to produce. And so they made somebody like really sad. I think they lied to him. And then it was Aesop from Aesop's Fables, but it was like Aesop in disguise, speaking of tricksters. And the not great tricksters, when it's an external trickster, it's not, internal trickster for your highest good, a divine trickster for your greater good. Other tricksters, whatever their own motives are. Some of them might be well intentioned, some of them are very much so not. But I think they like lied to her, and then like she soaked her tear with a napkin, and then they used the tear from the napkin to do something like dastardly or whatever. But that's why, like, Goddess Ninlil a little better, even though Goddess Ninlil also went through tragedy. But maybe it's a tear. We're offering tears of joy and tears of gratitude and tears of thanks to water these seeds. So maybe it's how like gratitude leads to more gratitude, or how misery can lead to more misery. But in the context of the king judge, it feels like the tear is like the king is the judge and he passes a ruling, he passes a verdict. The tear that's shed becomes an offering to the seed. The seed is his kingdom. So when he is that just and kind and compassionate king, there are many tears of gratitude that are shed that lead to his kingdom becoming like prosperous. When he is strict and dictatorial and very cruel, there are many tears of pain and tears of tragedy and tears of misery that are shed, that then that energy is offered to his kingdom, and it becomes one that is not that great, one that's destined for some kind of implosion or ruin. The energy that we send out is the energy that we receive, basically, kind of. I don't even remember what card that is in the Diceology. Okay. Oh, that's way too much. But I'll take the one that flipped over. I'm not taking all of them. One of them flipped over, and it's the forest. Bottom of the deck is the temple. The forest and the temple have come out together before, because I remember the forest temple being a thing. The rainbow is also here, or the bridge, sorry. So it's like you got to go through the forest, over the bridge, and then you see this temple. The temple is the entrance. No, the temple is in the forest because there's the temple right there. So you go over the bridge and then through the forest and you find the temple. Temple of Solomon? Girl. I'm just the dude that is beyond me. Um, but it's almost, it feels like this temple, this forest temple, I don't know if it's like the portal to that kingdom or if there's something sacred or holy about this. I mean, it's the temple, so there's obviously something holy about it. But it's in the middle of the forest. So it might be an oasis. So maybe it's like good kings, like good judges are hard to come by, especially at a certain time when it wasn't profitable to be of character. When it was a lot easier to be like, you can get a lot richer, a lot quicker if you made some questionable decisions that involved just doing anything and everything to climb your and crawl your way to the top or whatever. Um, so it's like again with us having the opinions of like masculinity or the father archetype as we do, or us having a certain opinion of the divine because of the practitioners that we've come across. Um, Maybe that temple in the middle of the forest, it's like it's the truth of that, or it's like maybe it's like it's the good Christians who show the love of the creator and how like the people who respond and react to that love and who see that love embodied, like the good king judge is like the love of the divine embodied, a love of the divine that is so warm and is so brilliant that it would lead others to the divine rather than it being so self-serving and self-absorbed and so whatever that it would repel others from the divine that they claim to serve. You know what I mean? Maybe it's like that energy. Maybe it could be you being someone's light or someone's example in a time where they really need one. Maybe it's how you have been someone's shining light and example. Maybe they'll come and tell you. I don't think I mentioned it here, but in my own life, I've talked about how, you know, it's kind of wild that I lived life long enough and that I grew and healed enough to become the Patrick that I am today. And that is in no small part. Um, like, there's been a whole lot of people that I've met along my life or along my journey in life that have imparted me and impacted me in ways that were very positive, but in ways that I wasn't ready to receive at the time that I met them. And now with some of the things I was just telling one of my good friends that I do a podcast with, the Tranquilise podcast. There's at least one episode a month this season, and so far we're 2 for 2. Season 2 was one episode, but fun, you know, it's fine. It is what it's meant to be. But anyway, I was telling her like how there are some things that people instilled in me. Like I think I even mentioned it on the podcast actually, like 6-7 years ago, if not longer. That now that I'm in a space to like actually move forward and to actually, I mean, I've been handling and facing and addressing things, but because 2022 was for me what it was for me, because my Saturn return was for me what it was for me. And it seems like the energy there's like it's also collective, because there are a lot of people who weren't in Saturn returns, who were also experiencing whatever they were experiencing. Um, like my grounds were fertile enough to receive water, and the water started like growing seeds that were planted in me like a long time ago that I was too dry to receive. Um, but I saw somebody, I was on Facebook stories waiting for my mom so we can go to the gym. And I don't like Facebook stories. I'll see like maybe one or two of every now and then. I'm not really, I'm not on social media like I used to be, at the very least. Um, but she was talking about something, and I was like hearting all of it. And I left her, and then she asked me how I was doing. She asked me how I was doing, and I told her how I'm doing, and how like I'm so glad that I met her, and because I met her and somebody else at the same time, and I was like, I'm so like I was so blessed to have, for like you two to have come into my life when you did. And lately, like there have been like so many people who I've met along the course of my journey in life, where it's like the impacts that they made on me are really starting to sink in. And she was like, I'm gonna start crying. Um, and she was like, thank you so much for sharing that with me today, because I've been wondering if I made the wrong decision in leaving, but because of what you shared with me today, I know that my impact was made. Um, and I was like, of course, I was like, no problem. And one of the first messages that came out of the Lafruma for me, and I might try to find it and like post it, because that was one of the things that really rang true. But it's like how we help heal each other, or how we're there for each other, how we can be confirmation and validation for one another, and how like that whole and like in that whole interaction I was able to give gratitude back to someone who impacted me in such a positive way, whose impact was revealed later, when it was the leaf that unfurled, when the soil was ready to absorb the water, when it wasn't frozen permafrost, or the middle of the desert for that matter, you know what I mean, when rain really fell in the desert. um and it's what she needed. It's what she needed to hear. And it's like, it's what we do for each other. It's how we help one another. So, yeah. Whoo! I'm a Taurus moon and rising. So, sometimes I can be a little stubborn. I can be a little fixed. I can be a little slow. But, when I needed it, it was there. And it was within me. So, I'm just glad. I forget why I brought that up. But it's like, it's what we do for each other. Oh, because you may be the one that shows somebody a certain light, or you may be what someone needs to make it through whatever, and you may not even necessarily know it. You are that light of the divine, the love of the creator, that exudes a brilliance that is also warm, you know in spaces that people may not necessarily be able to. Anyway, that's why I shared it. You are the temple in the forest that people need as we're all navigating the misty, foggy forest. But like that Ace of Cups said, in the reverse, it could be giving too much to too many. So there are certain things that are for us to do, and certain things that aren't. I don't know if, I guess it's just like, don't forget to also love on you, and to pour back into yourself, so you can recharge and not just be drained. All right, Archeo, I've been shuffling this for a minute. Final Archeo. Ooh, oh, well, I thought we had a card, and then it flipped right back over. Final Archeo. Final Archeo. Final Archeo. Final Archeo. Final Archeo. This card stuttered. Usually I take it, but I'm not today. You're going to have to flip over or come out. And I'm just going to sit here and shuffle and try to not get a wooze, but try to summon a little breeze and feel it right across the top of my forehead. Ooh, there it is. Thank you. I'll take this card because it's stabbing me in the hand. Did I pull the right card? Yeah, I did. Girl, I'm trying to find the name. Oh, ugh. It's a dragon, but it's the demon. I was like, I hope it's the dragon because Dracon, the dragon, the higher self or whatever. All right. Well, if I don't see you, have a great evening and night. Afternoon? I don't know. Bottom of the deck is the Jester. So it's a lot softer than the Trickster. Similar in purpose, but a lot less extreme. So I was hoping that the Trickster would be at the bottom so I could say that this is more so the dragon energy than like whatever this demon is supposed to be. Because it looks like a dragon, and I just used the Ravenous and Dracon deck. The Jester. I'm still gonna read it, I guess. The demon is contrary and complex, offering you a glimpse into the poisoned chalice without demanding that you drink. If you keep him at arm's length and take his insights in homeopathic doses, he will keep you protected from greed and envy. But his greatest contribution to your cause is to make it possible for you to recognize those who wish you malice. In many ways, the demon is the hardest archeo to acknowledge, yet he is necessary. Without him, we would be utterly gullible. On the one hand, he is a slippery manipulator. On the other hand, he helps us to recognize dishonesty and duplicity, both in ourselves and in others. If you keep him contained, his familiarity with animosity will serve you well. But if you allow him to convince you that indulgence is your birthright, you will quickly lose your way. With one foot in the dark and the other dancing in blinding light, the demon is both tormentor and realist, and thus an unpredictable teacher or ally. Certainly, you must hold him at arm's length, but do not try to banish him. You do not want to make him a dire enemy. When taking his counsel, it would be wise to call upon the sage and the warrior for arbitration and protection. Remember, your fascinations, addictions, and repulsions are your weaknesses, and he will try to play upon them even as he is warning you of an external threat. See, this feels like that like manipulator controlling archetype that Emperor gets because, people are manipulators and controllers. It's like demons will convince you that dragons are evil, and it's like, girl, you've been dealing with demons. I know they look like dragons, but that ain't no draggy. Ooh, the blank card is under the demon. Is this the blinding light? Not everything that it's like shadow. Not everything that opposes light is dark. Not everything that opposes dark is light. Right? Like we as humans, we've done a pretty good job at like, what's that? For people who get sad, which is seasonal affective disorder, they have like the therapy lights that like simulate like the sun and daylight, but it's not. We've gotten really good at illuminating the dark with lights and neon signs and all kinds of things, but not all of that is like the sun. I guess that's what I'm trying to communicate in some way. If you are ignorant to something, you might believe it might be easier for you to believe whatever because you don't know. But just because someone's like telling you information on a topic that you don't know about doesn't mean that they're telling you the truth. You know what I mean? And if you don't know the truth, then how are you supposed to know that if what they're telling you is like legit? Your intuition, discernment, guidance. That more so than like, well, because sometimes it's almost like in the church how there's a saying of like, I can't remember exactly, but it's like the devil knows the Bible too. So like the devil can come in and quote scripture at you, but it'll twist it and it'll use it to get you to do something that's not biblical. But it's like, well, since it's using scripture, it must be of the divine. And it's like, no, girl, because the devil know the book too. The devil know the book better than a lot of people. The devil was there when it was written. He was cast in nearly every part. He was the antagonist, always there, kind of, sorta. In the, you know what I mean? And so that's why, like, the end of that entry was like, be mindful of your own addictions and proclivities and weaknesses, because even as the demon is warning you against an external threat, it might try to use those against you to get you ensnared in its claws too. So even when it's helpful, even when it's helping you, you still got to watch out for it. The enemy of my enemy is not necessarily my friend. And if you think that way, then you get set up in a heartbeat. What did it say? Remember, your fascinations, addictions, and repulsions are your weaknesses, and he will try to play upon them even as he is warning you of an external threat. Didn't necessarily want to end it there, but I guess it's to remind us that not every trickster, not every jester has good intentions. Like Eve said in the beginning, internal trickster, always for your highest good. External trickster is for their own motivations. It might be for your greater good, it might not be. Use your own intuition, guidance, discernment, knowledge, and wisdom. As always, I hope you all have an amazing whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that if you tell your mom that you want some beans, she doesn't put them in the freezer. And then say, oh, it's too late. You should have told me. I'm kidding. But I really do hope you whatever you need in this time. I don't know how crazy and chaotic it's gonna get. There are people who are always gonna say whatever. But even in the midst of chaos, even in the midst of pandemonium, there were still some really beautiful things that were happening in the world. And without social media, I wouldn't have known that. Like a lot of my friends personally, like they got new jobs and they got new houses. And of course, there were some that experienced misfortune, but that wasn't like the whatever. And it's use your own intuition, guidance, discernment, ultimately, at the end of the day. And if I can do anything, I hope it's to get you to a point into a place where you can sort of learn to develop and hone and refine all of those to get you where you're going, because I am only going to be here for the time that I'm here and then I'm gone. Ethereal, like a butterfly, elusive, like the Pisces I am. Anyway, I guess I say that because things in my life may be getting a lot more busy, a lot busier here relatively soon, which is good because I'm ready. I'm ready to move forward. But yeah. So anyway, I'll pull a dragon. Why not? Since the dragon was here. We'll see what the dragon says to combat that fake dragon. The demon that took the guise of a dragon to try to come in and be like, oh, see, Patrick said use your own intuition, discernment, and wisdom. Follow your own guidance is what Patrick said more than anything. So don't be like, oh, well, you saw this reading and like now this is no. Take it as it resonates. When it resonates, if it resonates, and if it don't take it. Will the real dragon please stand up? The crystal yellow dragon opens you to higher learning and wisdom. Love this. Expand your crown chakra for illumination. Walk the higher spiritual path. That's another thing of the divine. like I feel like sometimes, especially the divine might challenge the ego more so than it like strokes it or plays along with it or like feeds into it. Now, if it's for you to come into a space of self empowerment, self acknowledgement, self awareness, then it might feed your ego to the point where it's healthy. Like if you have a malnutritioned ego, then the divine might feed it. So you have a healthy, sturdy sense. So you know who you are in a world of constant change and everything that's happening and going on. If you already got a healthy ego and if your ego is overly healthy, the divine might challenge it rather than make it even bigger. But sometimes, again, it's our own need to feel good about ourselves or whatever rather than to see the truth of who we are that we like feed into it. And then we're like, I thought, and then the mask comes off and it's like, I'm not a dragon. I was the demon the whole time. Girl, you got to know, basically. Bottom of the deck is the white gold dragon from Lyra. Oh, Snoop. Connects you to the highest Christ light. Develop your causal chakra. Bathe in ninth dimensional Christ light. So the dragon that came out opens you to higher learning and wisdom. The dragon at the bottom of the deck is ninth dimensional, whatever. You go from this crystal yellow dragon to this white gold dragon, from a crystal yellow to a white gold. Love that. There you go. And again, it's almost like with the jester at the bottom of the deck, either way we learn. Right? Either way we learn, but it's my personal hope, goal, dream, and mission to learn from the happy, the joyful, the good that turns into the better rather than the unfortunate, the misfortune, the misery, the whatever. Like, it's my goal to not be so stubborn that I have to learn the hard way. I'm doing a pretty good job, especially recently. Like recently, I am doing stellar. I'm doing fan freaking tastic. Doing things that again I never thought I would. It reminds me. I asked my best friend, the one that I go see in the UK. I was like, if like you can give me any dating advice, like what would it be? And he was like, I would tell you to like be more flexible. And I was like, no, I'm already flexible in the ways that I need to be flexible. And if I'm inflexible, it's because you're hitting a boundary. Bad advice, bad advice. I'm not listening. Mm-mm. Which is probably why he gave me that advice, right? Anyway, like I said, I hope you all have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that your discernment tunes you into what is your intuition and what is your please be. I hope that this is / fear, anxiety, whatever. I hope your discernment will help you differentiate. And I hope you the courage and strength and bravery to actually follow the path that your intuition is guiding you down because sometimes it is very challenging. It's fraught with worry and it ain't easy. But the more you go down that path, it's like the stronger you get, the more tone or whatever. And then there's a point where you like sort of fall into a certain ease and you fall into a certain flow. And then, or at least I hope that for you. You know what I mean? You just might have to get rid of some of the inflammation first a little bit. So, and when there's inflammation in the body, it makes it harder, it makes it more challenging, it makes it more difficult to do those things. So if you are in a stagnant, like hangman slowing down phase, it might be because there are some things, some like burdens that you're working through, some healing that you're doing, that as you're doing it, when you start to move, it's going to make it easier to move and to keep up that momentum and to build momentum. Like the weight that you're shedding while you're still will make it easier for you when you begin to move. And it's easier to get rid of inflammation and other ways that aren't exercise than it is to fight through pain and all kinds of other stuff while you're exercising. Or so someone that I trust told me earlier today. I said I'm getting better at not being stubborn. I didn't say I'm perfect. And I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye.